Hi, and welcome to our math lessons for this week. This week in maths, we're talking about time. And what we're going to do today is we're going to look at converting time between how many seconds are in a minute and how many minutes are in an hour, and converting them. Like if you had 78 minutes, how many hours is that? And going through it together. I'm trying out something different today. I'm going to try to stream my iPad through the screen here and see how we go. So if I have technical difficulties, please bear with me. So let's see how we go. Okay, hopefully that's working for you guys. Also, don't judge the handwriting when we get to my handwriting. I would say I'm trying my best, but even that's not probably true. So let's see how we go. All right. So you guys probably know let's take, you guys would assume we'd know the normal ones, like 60 seconds in a minute and 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week, days in a month. The 1,000 milliseconds in a second is an interesting one, because you'll see that getting used a lot during the Olympics and Paralympics coming up, because a second is a long time, actually. And I know it's really quick, like it only takes a second, but in terms of like an event, like a swimming event or a running event, it really makes a big difference. So the ones we're going to be focusing on today is converting between seconds, minutes, and hours, and converting back and forth between those. So I want to give you a guide as to how to convert between minutes and seconds and hours. But before I do, I think it's really important that you have a good grasp of what's going to happen to the number when you see it. So if you've got how many seconds, there'll be lots of seconds. And if you're converting to a minute, it's going to get smaller. Knowing before you start if the number is going to get smaller or bigger will help you to know what it should look like. So if you end up with like 34 seconds, how many minutes, and you're coming up with like 400 minutes, and you're like, why would 34 seconds turn into minutes, like lots of minutes? Knowing if the number is going to get bigger or smaller is really important, because quite often people know what to do mathematically, but they don't know when to apply it. And we'll get to that in a sec. Let's see how we go. Okay, so if we're converting, we're going to go this way. So if we're converting between seconds and minutes an hour, between seconds and minutes, we just need to divide it by 60, because there are 60 seconds in a minute. So we divide that number by 60. So if you had 180 seconds, you would divide that by 60, and you would end up with 3 minutes. Okay. So when we're going between seconds and minutes, we divide by 60. And if we're going by minutes to hours, we also then divide by 60. But if you're going from seconds to hours, don't just divide by 120. It gets confusing. I'll explain that later. Just like that, if we're going the opposite way from hours to minutes, we times by 60. And from minutes to seconds, we times it by 60. Okay, like I said, it's pretty much the same both up and top and bottom. But if you don't know when to apply it, you start timesing it, and suddenly 2 hours has become half a minute. Makes no sense. It makes no sense. So let's keep going. Okay, so I'm going to keep this thing up the top for you guys so you can see which we're going to go from seconds to minutes. So you can see seconds, minutes. If we're going from seconds to minutes, we're going to divide it by 60. So it says 270 seconds. How many minutes is that? Now, if you're good at counting by 60s, you could just keep going until and see what you're left with, like 60, 120, 180, 240. And then that's how I would do it. I'll just count by 60s. But if you don't know how to, you could do it like that. Okay, but I mean, even then, 60, you're pretty much going to have how many 60s going to 270. So it'd be 60 minutes, so 60 seconds. I would just skip counting, actually. 60 seconds, 120, 180, 240. I can't go any further. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes. And how many is left over? From 240 to 270, there's 30 seconds left. So it's 4 minutes, 30 seconds. So we're dividing it by 60. 3 hours, how many minutes? Now, remember, 3 hours, how many minutes? We're going the opposite way. There's going to be more because there's 60 minutes in an hour. So we're going to times that by 60. So you take your 3 times by 60, 180 minutes. Okay. Knowing which way to go. So 12 hours and 33 minutes, how many minutes are there in that? Okay, leave the 33 minutes out of it. Let's just find out how many minutes are in 12 hours and plus the 33 on the end. Now, hours to minutes, it's going to get bigger. There's going to be more minutes. And so we're going to times that by 60. So it's just simple as 12 times 60. Now, you could do that in your head. Great. You could do it algorithm. I don't care. My strategy would be getting rid of the 0 and putting it back in later. 12 sixes, 72. Add the 0 back on is 720 minutes. Now, this is where we'd go problematic in the test, because you'd get that and you write down 720 minutes and you'd forget that you started with the 33 minutes extra at the start. So you got to plus that on. So 33 plus 720, there would be 753 minutes in that time. Okay. So if you had 208 minutes, we're going how many hours? So remember, 208 minutes, there's a lot of minutes in hours. So it's going to get smaller. So it's going to divide by 60 to get smaller. Okay, so we're going to do 208 divided by 60. Now, remember I said last time, you can do this, right? I just don't think it's necessary. I just don't think that's how I would do it. I would try to skip count by 60s, right? Or if you know we know, remember, so 60 minutes in 1 hour, 120 in 2, and 180 in 3. We can't do it again because it goes to 240. Okay, so we know there's 3 whole hours. And now we could just do 208, take away 180, you're left with 28. So it's 3 hours and 28 minutes. Okay, I know it's complicated and I know that I've written all over the screen. I'm trying my best. All right, let's do the extension one. If you are getting confused already, then I apologize. But if you're keeping up and you want to try the extension one, let's see how we go. We're doing 1 hour, 23 minutes into seconds. So we're not just converting one way, we're converting from hours to seconds. That's a lot. Now, what I think the best thing to do is to convert it to minutes first and then convert to minutes to seconds. Try not to do the whole thing at once. So we've already got 23 minutes here, and we know that an hour is 60 minutes, right? So now we do 60 plus 23, we are left with 83 minutes. Now that we've got it into minutes, we can now convert the minutes into seconds. Now remember, minutes into seconds, as you can see from the screen, is going to times that by 60. Okay. Now remember, when timesing something by 60, if you just want to times it by 6 and then add a 0 at the end, that's also fine. So 6 times 83, 18, 48, 49, 4,980 seconds in 1 hour and 23 minutes. Okay. So remember, when you're converting between time, know first if your number is going to get bigger or smaller. Then seconds to minutes and minutes to hours. I just realized you could see my nail polish. Last night, my daughter was crying before dinner and wanted dinner. So the only thing to keep her happy was to let her paint my nails. So as you can see today, my wife assured me they would wash off, and they do not seem to be washing off. And so I'm stuck out now with purple nails, but I'm in lockdown, so who cares, right? All right. So if you're converting between one to the other, you've got to know if it's going to get smaller or bigger, and then you're just going to divide it or times it by 60. Now, remember, if you're converting from seconds all the way across to hours, just go one at a time. Slowly convert from seconds to minutes and then from minutes to hours. It's really hard to make that big jump. All right. I hope that's been helpful. All right. And good luck with it all. Remember, I'm going to make a few different things so you can have some easier ones and then some harder ones as well. So you just pick whichever one's appropriate for you and give it your best go. Thanks for watching.